Good evening. I'm Peter Thiel. I build companies and I support people who are building new things, from social networks to rocket ships. I'm not a politician, but neither is Donald Trump. He is a builder, and it's time to rebuild America.
Dit is Peter Thiel, een succesvol ondernemer en investeerder uit Silicon Valley. Geschat vermogen meer dan $18 miljard. Hij is de man die Trump overtuigde om J.D. Vance te kiezen als running mate. Thiel is uitgesproken anti-overheid, anti-wetenschap. Hij heeft geen formele rol in de Trump-regering, maar heeft op allerlei manieren toch veel invloed.
Thiel was one of the only people in Silicon Valley to support Trump in 2016, so he's been an influential Trump supporter from early on. I think Thiel is more important for the kind of broader intellectual orbit that revolves around him. So he's been funding a huge number of the kind of cultural and intellectual products of the so-called new right.
I am proud to be a Republican, but most of all, I am proud to be an American.
J.D. Vance is the most important person who he is largely responsible for cultivating and bringing into Trump's orbit. I mean, it's not just that he supported Vance's Senate campaign in 2022, but he actually has been Vance's patron essentially since Vance was a law student and brought him to Silicon Valley and put him to work as a venture capitalist. So in many ways, he is the figure behind J.D. Vance, much more so than anyone in Washington.
I've tried to encourage them to bring on board as many of the good people I know as possible. I feel, again, there's so many more people in this administration that I think are really first rate.
He's been enormously influential in providing some of the people who are around Trump in mid-level positions who have come out of Thiel's businesses. Thiel is the founder of PayPal, an enormously successful entrepreneur who is also tremendously influential in the world of Silicon Valley. And from that world, Trump has now drawn many people and put them in at mid-level positions around the administration.
My skeptical view of science in general is I think most of these people are not scientists. They're not doing much work. They're not making any interesting new discoveries. They're just politicians getting money from the government. It's more corrupt than the Catholic Church was 400 or 500 years ago.
En Peter Thiel heeft meer van dit soort uitgesproken ideeën.
There should also be some room for trying to start new countries, new governments.
Hij stopte ook $500.000 in het idee om eilanden op zee te maken, plekken zonder wet en regelgeving. Thiel werd ondertussen rijk door de betaalservice PayPal, die hij samen met Musk startte. Hij was een van de eerste grote investeerders in Facebook. En toen SpaceX van Musk zwaar in de problemen zat, stopte Thiel ook daar flink wat kapitaal in. Hij is vooral uit op monopolieposities.
What you want to aim for is monopoly. You want to aim to build a company that is one of a kind and that it's so far differentiated from the competition that it's not even competing. If you want to compete like crazy, then you should just open a restaurant in Chicago.
There's a famous, by now notorious article he wrote over 15 years ago now about how he no longer thinks that freedom and democracy are compatible. Freedom in this case, of course, being free markets. And so when free markets and democracy collide, it's democracy that has to give way.
Maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
Thiel and the president have certain principles and goals in common. So they're both anti-elitists, they're both anti-institutionalists, they're both nationalists, and they both have the idea that America should be this sort of free space for entrepreneurs to do whatever they want.
He is, in some sense, the origin of the so-called tech right or Silicon Valley right, well before a figure like Elon Musk or Mark Andreessen had come out as a kind of culture warrior, Peter Thiel was the one who was really holding the standard for the right in Silicon Valley.
I have a decent number of conversations with tech CEOs, and what they tell me, they are so against the political correctness and all the ways in which this has just damaged their companies. The companies don't work.
Thiel is extremely influential among the entrepreneurs in that world. And so that is something that Trump wants to work with. So that's why you see Trump changing his views on whether and how to regulate AI. These are the kinds of areas that Thiel is very much interested in, and where he finds that Trump is malleable.
Get rid of government regulation of technology. Allow us to build nuclear power, allow us to, go into space, have supersonic planes again.
Maar tegelijkertijd is diezelfde overheid de belangrijkste opdrachtgever van Palantir, het beursgenoteerde spionagesoftwarebedrijf waarvan Thiel een van de oprichters is. Sinds 2009 won Palantir meer dan $2,7 miljard aan Amerikaanse overheidsopdrachten.
He has branched out into a whole variety of enterprises that are very entangled with the US security state. So a company like Palantir being the most famous of them. So it's clear he doesn't want to do away with the state, but you can imagine a world in which it's mostly shrunk to its kind of coercive and security functions, which are operated on a kind of public-private basis with some kind of alliance, tight alliance between the US government and his personal tech enterprises.
They believe that when billionaires do well, the country will do well. They don't seem to have a whole lot of a program for ordinary people, but they believe that they can bring ordinary Americans along with their program by promising them this atmosphere of freedom and elimination of government control over their lives. So that kind of libertarian mentality is something that is very much a part of Thiel's essential being, and something that he has tried to get Trump to come along with.